Hi, I'm Eva Blackman, and here is my presentation on social psychology. I hope you enjoy. So what is social psychology? Social psychology is the study of how people think and influence and relate to people. It seeks to answer the question, what causes people to behave as they do, and how is it different from sociology? So sociology is the study of human societies, organizations, and institutions. And a sociologist, for example, would study people as groups, and a social psychologist would more focus on the individual and how the presence of people affects that individual's behavior and how they are influenced and they influence the groups that they are in. So social psychology is researched by studying real life events and often trying to find out why people behaved as they did in that situation. Social psychologists will conduct experiments manipulating an aspect of a social context and observing the outcome of that. And an example of this is something called the bystander effect. And this is a classic study inspired by a murder of a woman in New York. She was attacked for 30 minutes and witnesses watched and no one came for her aid. And that was strange. So they conducted experiments finding that people were less likely to help when they were in the presence of more people. And usually they figured someone else would do it, or it wasn't appropriate to help, or the situation wasn't that severe because no one was helping. So social attributions. Attributes are explanations for what causes behavior. Often we try to make sense of why people behave and do what they do. And we do that by applying traits to them to explain their behavior. That is called attribution theory, but that way of thinking can cause us to make errors, and those are called fundamental attributional errors, which that's when we overestimate the importance of internal traits and underestimate the importance of external factors. Like a child may be acting out at school and people may assume that the child is just disrespectful or bad, but really they could be having a hard time at home. Social influences. So in our society, there are certain expected behaviors, and when we conform to those behaviors, it's called conformity, which is when we change behaviors and our ways of thinking in order to fit into a group standard. And when we conform, we end up doing things that we may not have done otherwise. For example, it could be positive or negative, but here's a positive example. Everyone has conformed to stop at red lights, and if no one did conform, or the people that don't conform end up risking other people getting hurt. So it's best that we all just conform into this standard for everyone's safety. And then obedience is different from conformity, because instead of following a group, you are listening to a individual authority without really changing your beliefs or way of thinking or behavior. You're just more of submitting to that authority. So intergroup relations, there are many different cultures, ethnicities, races, groups of people, and the way our groups influence us can influence on how we treat other groups, and that could lead to things like prejudice and discrimination. So how can we improve our intergroup relationships? We can improve them by collaborating with other groups of people, understanding, viewing others as equals, and trying to combat the prejudiced way of thinking that our group may have originally led us to have. All right, and that is the end. Thank you very much. Here are my sources cited. I use the textbook for all my information. Thank you so much.